Yo, welcome everybody to another episode of Weird Growth, the podcast where we hear the strange and often unpredictable journeys that founders find themselves on. Today, we have the incredible Elsa Mitchell joining us here in the studio. Successful Perth businesswoman, built a number of businesses from the ground up, and also a fellow podcast host of Bossy Bitch. So a little bit of a language warning. If you haven't heard Bossy Bitch before, you might have guessed it's probably got a little bit of blue language. So if kids are in the car or whatever, just a fair warning. And so now a very successful mentor, business leader, helps other people on their journey. So we're really privileged to have you here today. Elsa, thank you very much for joining us.
I feel like I'm blushing because like, am I turning red? I'm like, that was quite an introduction. Normally it's me introducing people and blowing smoke up their ass, but this time I'm on the receiving end.
Now you're in the hot seat. Yeah, so you're getting a little bit of your own back.
I'm quite enjoying it.
But no, look, you are inspiring other business leaders and particularly women all over Australia and regional Western Australia. So please, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're working on at the moment?
Well, I am a country girl, so I do have a little bit of a bias towards country folk.
I'm a country boy as well.
Yes, you are. So that's why I like you so much. Yes, so that's probably where my draw to the country people comes from. I just resonate. They speak my language. They usually are totally cool with me saying fuck a lot.
Here we go.
So I did a talk up in Broome a couple of months ago. It was a Women in Leadership Forum that the Broome Chamber of Commerce organised, and it was the first time doing the event. Got delayed heaps of times because of COVID. And they had Jess Rowe from over in Sydney come over, and they asked me to speak at the event. And I said to the lady, Elaine from the Chamber of Commerce, is it okay if I swear in this talk? And she said, yeah, sure, go for it. We want you to be yourself.
Yep.
And on the day I had the winning 2:30 p.m. spot of speaking, mid-afternoon slump.
Yep.
And up until that point, no one before me had said a single swear word, like not one. And I was like, oh, fuck. I don't know how this is going to go down, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd said to my mum, because my mum came up for that trip. It was one I said, come, bring the kids. We'll make a holiday of it. And she came and just sat in just for my talk. And when I got off the stage, she was so white and
Your mum.
just looking at me like, what the hell? And I was like, I warned you, Mum. I told you that I was going to swear like a trucker. And she was just mortified. And it wasn't until, and I should mention, actually I shouldn't mention it, but fuck it, I'll mention it. Before I did my talk, I could see someone asleep.
No way.
In their chair. So I'm like, right, I'm going to have to bring it, you know?
Folk up.
Yeah, so anyway, Mum came back at the end, and I think because there was drinks afterwards, when she saw everybody lining up to speak to me and saying, oh my God, that was so good, which I was super relieved about.
Of course it was.
She came round and went, she goes, I just thought that everybody else would have been disgusted. And the girl next to me didn't laugh at all. And I'm like, yeah, but everyone else loved it. So
yeah, nice.
That didn't really answer your question.
No,
though.
do you know what the question was? It was, what are you working, so what is Elsa Mitchell all about?
Business mentoring.
Yes.
So I love traveling up to the Kimberley and down south and running like digital marketing workshops in person.
Yes.
I know, so uncool. Everyone else does them online.
Old school.
I love actually showing up and having that in person. It's been really good for building my brand. So running those workshops for digital marketing, and then I am now taking on clients in either a group setting. So, for example, you can come and join my mentoring group for 8 months. Soon it's going to be 12 months. And I believe that obviously building a business, and you know this,
Yep.
there's multiple pieces of the puzzle and you need all the pieces. So, and there's a lot of pieces and it's really, really overwhelming.
Where do you start?
Where do you start? Like there's so much stuff and it's just changing all the time. You know, Instagram's different every week.
Yep.
And so I like for everyone to kind of take the time to put all those foundations in place, your social media, your email marketing, your SEO strategy, your website. And so I kind of guide people through that process.
Yep.
I'm not an expert on all those things, but I can outsource, say you need to do this, you need to do that, see this person. And we get it all done. As well, though, I think the main part is people just like to be held accountable.
Absolutely.
So they
especially
know.
when you're on your own as a business owner.
Yes.
Who do you answer to?
Correct. Yeah. And so they've got me, and I've been told that I very nicely kick people up the arse.
I bet you do.
And they sort of say, you know, I'm scared to show up to the next group meeting or whatever if I haven't done something.
Yeah.
So it kind of forces people to get shit done.
Love it.
But I also work one-to-one mentoring, you know, like a 6-month program that's a lot more obviously intense and high level. And that is what I'm working on at the moment.
Well, I'd love to go back to the start with your story in business and things, if that's okay. But first, I have a little pop quiz for you.
Oh, no.
So I put you on the spot, but it's not scary, don't worry. If you were to start business from scratch today, what would you do? What sort of business would you start?
Wow, that is really good. If I was to start a business from scratch today, oh my gosh. It can be any business in the world.
Anything in the world.
Oh, do you know what? I think I'd be a really good property developer.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah, I can imagine you know, walking in there in your steel cap boots, telling the builders what to do.
Yeah. Like that's if I could do anything in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would be really good at that.
Yeah, I reckon that's cool. All right, that would be fun, right? If money wasn't an issue, you could just build whatever. It would be awesome fun.
I know. Yeah,
cool.
I've always wanted to flip houses and thought that was something pretty cool.
Absolutely, love it. But you are involved in that industry. We'll talk about that a little bit later, if that's all right. But so you said you're originally from Condinin?
Condinin,
which is different to
not to be.
You pronounced it earlier, Meg, correctly. So
not to be mistaken for Condinin.
Yeah, we don't want to say that. That one starts with a C, and the other one starts with a K. So tell us about why you mentioned, you know, being from a small country town and regional. How does that contribute to your success as a business person, do you think?
Oh, I think that sense of community, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes. You grow up in a small town, as you know, and I say this to people when I go up to regional or rural towns. I'm like, you guys have a blessing here that you are a small community, because small communities, they help each other out, right? So even over the years with my businesses, your mum shares something you put on Facebook or whatever, and everyone goes, "Oh, only my mum shares it. You know, what's the point in my mum sharing it?" And I'm like, well, there actually is a huge point in your mum sharing it. And a good example is when I owned my hair salon for many years, people would come in from my childhood, like that I hadn't seen forever, and not just once, all the time randoms. I'd be like to my mum, "Oh my gosh, do you know such and such came in?" And I would always say, "Oh, what are you doing here? So great to see you." And they'd say, "Well, your mum shares your stuff so much that I thought, you know what? I need to come here and see what it's all about." Yep. So I definitely think that sense of community, and you really get a lot of support and authentic relationships.
Sure.
Is something I'm really big on, and I really, really see that. I did a podcast recently about networking, and sometimes, not to be judgy or whatever, you know, I just call a spade, but there's a lot of bullshit that goes on in Perth. You know, there's a lot of events that are fluff. They're photos for the gram. It's not always very real. And when I go back into the country, or I'm in those country towns, I make the most real and genuine connections with really amazing people that are just slaying it at life, but they're not. You might not even find them on Instagram. You know?
No, they're a different breed, and I think there's something to be said. Like, you do face a little bit more adversity. You're a little bit closer to the land and the elements, I guess, in regional areas, and you've got to help each other out, or else you won't succeed.
Not that I'm trashing city people by any means,
I agree,
because I am a city person now.
No, likewise. And I think during COVID, a lot of city people have started to experience community. They've had to meet their neighbours on the street. You know, beforehand, the only time you'd see their neighbours is when they're driving into their car garage and the door closes. And for our neighbourhood, as you know, especially, we've met everybody on the street. We hang out now, and it's
driveway drinks.
So good, yeah. Because again, in times of adversity, that was all we had. Like, we were locked at home for weeks on end, and it was just what we gravitated to as other people who were going through that together.
100%. I think the one good thing to come out of COVID is definitely that supporting local businesses, and supporting each other.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it's a really good point, and it's a nice next step is that, if you have a really clear understanding of your customers, thereby your community, what they're going through, what problems you're solving for them, that's such a strong foundation for a good business.
Absolutely.
And, that sort of understanding of community and, from small town works so well. So when you first started in business, what was your first business? Your first enterprise?
A hair salon, actually.
Was it?
Yes.
So tell us about that. How did you get into that?
Oh, do you know, because I always say this like people are going to be so surprised, but I was actually really smart at school.
Says you.
Yeah, I was one of those people that didn't really need to study, just did really well.
Yeah.
And so obviously my parents really wanted me to go to university and, get a degree and do something like that. And I did go to university for a day, but it was boring. And I remember saying to my dad, I don't want to go to university. He said, what do you want to do? And I was like, I just want to own my own business and be the boss. And he was like, well, go and find something that you can do until you grow up a little bit.
Yep.
And then sort it out later. So I decided to become a hairdresser. I literally just decided one day. And literally from the day I started my apprenticeship, my goal was everything I did was for my own salon later.
Yep.
Like I knew that I was winning those clients over to be my clients 10 years from now.
End goal in mind. Wow.
Yes. So, and let me tell you, owning a hair salon is a really, really good business to have. People are very vain. And in times when there's like an economic downturn, because, I started my salon when the GFC hit not long after.
Right. It's about 2008, something like that.
Yes, 2007. So that was shortly after. And people will fire their psychiatrist, their cleaner, their dentist, their fitness trainer. Hairdressers are last on the list, and you can't get your hair done online. So
you can't do it yourself.
I loved owning that business. I learned a lot from it, and but I was more passionate about owning and operating a business than I was actually being.
What do you think it was that drew you to being the boss?
I don't like being told what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
Both a gift and a curse.
Yeah. And what do you think was the biggest lesson out of running that business that you've sort of taken away from that in life?
I think that sense of, again, community. My number one thing from day one was it's relationships, building relationships with people. That has been always, and if anyone follows me, you will hear me say it over and over and over again. Yep. Good relationships are the key to every successful business. I mean, yeah, sure, there's some assholes out there killing it and that's annoying, but it's so important. So every single client is a client that I want to have for the rest of the life of the business.
Yep.
Every staff member I have, I want them to be my staff member for life. And even in my interviewing processes, I would say from the start, if you're someone that wants to go traveling or, you're just passing through, that's not for me.
Yep.
I'm looking to build relationships with people that are ride and die forever.
Love it. Yeah, and I guess, there's that saying where, if you don't like someone, you can't trust them, and trust is the foundation of business.
Oh, it's huge.
And so that, having that sort of just likability and it's in your nature that you want to get to know people and things. That's such a good foundation for being a business owner too. Yeah,
I have 2 rules for business. Again, you'll hear me preach them all the time. One is be consistent. The other one is to be a good human. And so if you genuinely care about your clients, so in everything, yes, they can tell. And it's even building your website. Are you thinking about if your client's going to have a good journey on your website and a good experience on your website? It's responding to messages on social media. It's engaging. It's saying thank you for being my client. Just being a good human, I think it.
How often do you read a website when it's all about me? It's all about my business and when I started and what I did, and it's not actually talking about how you help the customer.
Yes.
And what it is you offer for them and how you're going to make their lives better.
Exactly right.
Such a subtle difference, but it makes all the difference in the customer's head.
And that's your zone of genius.
Well, it's yours too. It's if you're, mentoring and advising the customer, or business owners, it's just such an important foundation to understand. So you came through, you spent 10, 15 years building up this wonderful business in the western suburbs of Perth, massive loyal ride or die fan base of customers. Then what happened?
Well, that was hard to let go of that. Yes, it was very hard to let go of that. Yeah.
And you've only done that kind of recently,
Recently,
right?
yeah. I sold the business at the start of the year. One of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make, yet since making it haven't looked back.
Did it feel like giving away a baby?
Absolutely. I cried every day for months. God. And my kids were like, Mum, seriously, stop crying. And I'm like, am I doing the right thing? It was a great business. And everyone's like, you're insane. Just put a manager in. Get someone to run it for you. And I was like, I can't do that.
Why not?
I don't believe in that. Because I think that you set the tone for your business comes from you. The culture within your business comes from you. The culture within your staff, the culture within your clients. You set that tone. And there were times over the years where things would slip. I would think, the staff dynamic wasn't great. Maybe I lost a few clients. There was a bit of a dip. I would take that as a reflection upon myself.
Yeah.
Because I'd dropped the ball or I'd stepped out and I knew that I had. And that would show.
It's hard not to take that personally.
Absolutely. And I think probably to my detriment, I've always believed that you set the example for your staff. If you're just coasting around, checking in, hey, just off for a latte with my,
Yeah, the staff are going to take cues from that.
How can you expect people to respect you and care about your business when you're, I don't know. Yeah. That's just, people might not agree with that, but that's how I've always operated. So I cared a lot, and I cared a lot about my clients. As you would know, Cam,
Absolutely.
A lot of them became really good friends.
Like my wife, yeah.
Like your wife and your mother-in-law. And, so they become family. So I was not upset. Again, it was a thriving business. Everyone says, well, you don't sell a successful business. I'm like, well, or do you? You know what I mean? Like, it's a good time to walk away. I knew in my heart it was not where I was meant to be for the rest of my life. I love working with business owners and doing the mentoring, and I needed to take a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really wonderful that you've done that. And that's the thing about any sort of business, is that there is an element of risk and uncertainty involved. And if you're going to if you want something to be successful, you do need to be all in on it. It needs to be your focus.
100%. And do you know what? Change is really, really hard and uncomfortable and scary. So I just recommend that you don't do it. Just stay in your comfort zone. Never leave
that's
it.
your number one piece of advice. Just stay on the couch watching Netflix and everything will be fine.
Just stay where it's warm and cozy.
How boring.
Nothing can go wrong.
And so partway through, probably 2 or 3 years ago, I think we chatted when you were first starting at this sort of consultancy side of things. You had learnt so much from being such an awesome service business owner, and from being successful on just your socials, and just the online game is hot. So the next stage was you helping others to do that. What was the trigger for doing that?
So actually what happened was, I used to, back in the day when blogging was cool, I was blogging for my business, and I was going to all these cool blogging events, and I always felt like the loser because I was the only person that was blogging for my business. I wasn't like a blogger.
Probably the only one who's actually making any money too.
Correct. Yeah. Yes. And I actually had a conversation with someone the other day who was at one of those events, and she goes, I remember just thinking like how random it was that you were this chick that was like blogging for business. Now the only reason you blog is for business. It's sort of no longer a thing. So why is that? Just while you made that interesting point, what do you think did happen to blogging? Oh my gosh. I would love to tell you the funniest story. We went to this big blogging event over on the Gold Coast. It was huge. I loved it. They were the best events. Big blogging event. Yeah, and they'd have Facebook experts and Instagram experts.
Influencers.
And, everyone was an influencer. It was very cool. And
what better place in Australia than have it in the Gold Coast?
Yes. Yeah. It really was a great event.
Get your spray tan on the way in.
I'm sad that they don't do it anymore. But they hired this, they flew in this American blogger. She was one of the original bloggers. I think her name was Juice Deuce. I don't know.
Sounds
I didn't
right.
actually even know who she was because I didn't really pay attention to anybody else other than myself. Anyway, she gets up on stage and she says, blogging is dead. It's dead. No one's doing it. Everybody's getting out. Like all my friends are quitting, and everyone was just dead silent. No one said anything, and I'm like, everyone's like,
you can all go home
now. Just paid this woman to come in. I mean, everyone's lining up for the toilets after the thing, and everyone was just quiet in the line. And I remember going, well, that was awkward. And we've never forgotten. And you know what? She was right. It did die off. I think people just got to. It's like the influencers, you know, when they're just constantly trying to sell.
Yep.
You don't become authentic or interesting anymore. And that's kind of the only way to make money on blogging. It got saturated. It got too competitive. And then the only way to really make money was sponsored ads. How do you stay authentic? So it kind of dwindled away.
Yeah, and it does. That's the thing about this space is it is constantly changing and evolving and staying at top of it is a mission. So
little did I know, but I was quite, what's the word? Ahead of my time.
Of course you are.
So what was the original question? Because
what happened to blogging, and I guess what was the impetus for you going from
transfer
being
over,
a traditional business owner to being, an expert in this space?
I could see back then that there was this disconnect between business owners and people like bloggers or influencers or content creators. And so my friend, very, very good friend, Christy, and I, who was also at the blogging thing, we were like, God, I just feel like there needs to be this thing where they sort of come together somehow. And she had a different skill set to me. She was really good with SEO and websites and things like that. And so we decided to team up. And actually what we started the business as, it completely changed really quickly, because you know what it's like.
Yep.
You start one thing, you pivot.
Yep. You see a shiny thing over here, customer wants this.
Yes,
Yep.
I'll do this. And so we did that thing where we said yes to everything. Oh, can you manage our social media? Yes. And I was like, I hate managing people's social media. Why am I doing this? It's horrible. Or I think one night I was editing videos, and I'm the most untechnical person in the world. I was like, this sucks. What are we doing? And that journey took us to essentially, I guess it's business coaching, but I feel like it just sounds way cooler to call it business mentoring.
No, I think that's the right word for it, for sure.
Yeah, so we kind of just organically went in that direction. And when I launched we wanted to create this mentoring program that ran for 8 months, and Christy got very, very sick.
Yeah.
And I thought, just inside me, I was like, I know I need to launch this program. And I remember trying to get it off the ground. I'm going to do it on my own without her because she was too sick. And my husband was like, just let it go. Don't do it. Just grieve your friend, take some time. But I was like, no, I know my heart. I am meant to do this thing.
Yep. So
I did it, killed myself, put it up, sold out straight away. You know it's meant to be.
Yep. Amazing.
It was the best part of 2020 for me. It was a beautiful group, and I landed on my thing. Yep. Sometimes it takes a little while to land on your thing. So that's, I guess, a really long version of how I crossed over.
So is that the main part of the business, is sort of these programs that last for a certain number of months or weeks, and then on top of that, just that sort of ongoing mentoring that you do?
At the moment it is. I hope to launch more of an online course. I'd like to cater for all, more the high level.
Budgets, yep.
Yeah, I want to cater for everybody. I've taken a little bit of breathing space since selling my business and, with my friend being sick. So I've been taking a bit of quiet time, but I'm right into it now. And I also forgot to mention, as you touched on earlier, my husband and I started a really high-end building company probably 6 years ago. Couldn't be more different to owning a hair salon.
Yeah. So your husband's a builder, right?
Yes, he's a builder. He does custom architecturally designed
stuff.
Beautiful homes.
And so how involved are you in the business?
Not anymore. Yep. I've stepped out.
Yep.
But I did learn, and through Christy having her software company, and she was an accountant, we had all these weird businesses between us. Yep. But we realised the same principles apply. Doesn't matter what business you've got. Yep. You still basically need the same foundations.
Yeah. dead on. Just since you mentioned Christy, her husband Glenn is one of the founders of
Komo,
yeah, which is another Perth, startup that's kicking lots of goals and things around Australia. So it's a small community, but there's lots of really talented people around, and it's just that sort of you get Perth, right? So nature of things.
So true.
So who's the ideal customer for?
Oh, that's a really good
Elsa
question.
Mitchell?
I call them my dream client.
Dream client. Who?
My dream client is it's a woman. Not that I discriminate against the men, but seem to attract women.
Yeah.
I love those living in rural remote communities. It's someone that's in business looking to, I guess, scale their business that has some knowledge and a basic foundation, but it's messy and they need it cleaned up.
Yeah, nice. And so what do they come to you for, do you think?
I think not everybody, I think most people have this overwhelm. They know that they need to do all the things, right?
Marketing overwhelm in particular is a real thing.
It's crazy. And, it sounds a lot harder than what it is, a lot of stuff. And I'm all about teaching people things you can do for free that actually aren't that hard.
Yep.
Seems hard. And when you're like, oh, my gosh, it's too hard, I'm just not even going to do anything.
But it's a bit like that theory where if you go into a supermarket and you're not really sure what you want, and you're presented with a million different options, it's so much harder to choose than if you had two things to choose from.
Correct.
And it was clear, this or that. Whereas when you're presented with, do you do Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn, all the things, you feel like you're a failure if you don't do all of them. And it's impossible to do all of them. Well, you could try, but you won't do any of them very well.
Kill yourself trying, yeah.
And so it's so helpful to have an outside sort of just little bit of a hand holding and a little bit of clarity.
Correct.
That actually it's okay. You don't have to do everything. Just do a couple of things that work well for you and do them well.
Correct. And I think as well, people, what I have learnt is, and it's huge, and it's the reason why that industry is becoming so massive, the mindset. I quickly recognised that was something that was a big thing. You can teach people, and people can be smashing it on Instagram and doing all the right things. But there's a mental block, and I'm not a mindset expert. I mean, I should be, because I've done enough mental coaching for myself.
Yeah.
But I'm by no means wanting to put my hand up and say I'm qualified in that space. But usually the only thing that's standing in people's way is themselves.
Right.
Because they head fuck themselves, right?
Yep.
There's that fear of, I'm not good enough. Or what if I do succeed and then I'm too busy and I can't keep up and then I let all my clients down? Or there's that fear now, and this is my fear, and it's going to happen if it hasn't already, is what if I say the wrong thing? We get trolled online. Look at Pete Evans.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but that sort of, it's almost like an imposter syndrome sort of thing that happens. It seems to happen more with women.
100%.
And I shouldn't be saying that because I'm a man,
please.
but why is
so
that?
True.
Because it breaks my heart. There's incredible, capable, smart people, and they stop themselves from achieving what they should.
It 100% is a female thing. That's the reason why there is so many people are operating their businesses and targeting just women. And I didn't want to ever be the just for women mentor. I wanted to be for everybody.
Yeah. And you'd be awesome for anybody, really.
Yes, it's true. I would be.
Of course you would be.
If it is a female thing, and I don't know what it is, I don't know if it's years of bad programming, but there is that real fear of what other people think. And for me, unfortunately, what got me across the line was my friend getting sick and, being terminally ill. I was like, well, fuck it,
that was your
shot.
kick in the pants.
Yeah, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks anymore. And that was a turning point for me. Unfortunately, you can't give that lesson to everybody, and that's hard, but that's how I overcame those big fears. But
you can help others through that from your own experience.
Yes, and so I think with what I'm doing now, people just need to be told, yeah, that's a good idea. They just need to be validated. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine. You should post that. That's okay. Yes, do that. And they're like, oh, okay.
Because especially, like we were saying before, it can be so lonely being a solo entrepreneur.
100%.
And, if your partner at home, you know, isn't that super interested, and you don't have a business partner, and you do, maybe you've got a team, but it's still the buck stops with you.
Absolutely.
Just the motivation, and as you're saying, that mindset thing is so critical to getting shit done.
And it's in fashion to own a business. Let's be honest. Everybody has a side hustle these days. Even if you've got a job, someone, you know, a lot of people have a side hustle. It is trendy.
Why do you think that is?
Oh, because we were just so cool that everyone wanted to be like
you're
us.
the trendsetter.
That's obvious. I guess because, you know, the mums are trying to figure out ways to work from home while having kids. I guess it's more accessible these days.
It's never been easier.
It's never been easier. You can have your own marketing plan. People quickly forget that 10 years ago, 10 years ago,
not long,
there wasn't Facebook. Well, there probably was. It was new.
Yep.
I always felt like I was one of the first businesses on Facebook, and my mind was blown.
Yeah.
I remember when we used to put an ad in the yellow pages.
No way.
Remember that?
That was my first job in marketing too.
Correct. You had to sell a kidney to just get your phone number listed.
I think my first job when I was like a marketing coordinator, we spent $140,000 a year on Yellow Pages.
I feel so sorry for
and
the
this was
Yellow
like in
Pages.
2004.
They're just dead now.
Well, like the sales rep used to rock up in his
Crazy.
beautiful new like BMW coupe, and he was like wearing pinstripe suits, and he's probably on $500,000 a year for selling bits of paper in a bloody phone directory. And I wonder what he's doing now.
Well, that was
agency.
your marketing, you know, and same as you go in print. Like I think actually your very beautiful wife appeared in a magazine ad for me once, and it was a full page ad, and I know I spent $3,000 on it. Guess how many clients I got?
Julie.
None. Not a single one.
But how would you know?
And exactly. You can't measure it. You can't measure why it didn't work. And so people forget that. Back then, you need to have quite a bit of money behind you to do your marketing. Even if you wanted to do a flyer drop, you had to get the flyers. And let me tell you, a good old-fashioned flyer drop goes a long way.
Everyone still has a letterbox.
So, you know, there was the printing. You'd pay $1,000 to get somebody to deliver them all. It's easier now. Even though it's overwhelming and there's so much stuff, you can start a business very cheaply.
We are so lucky. This is the halcyon days probably of being a small business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why I think it's become so popular.
Yep, bang on. Well said. One big piece of advice to other founders who are looking to grow, you probably give a lot, but what would be the one piece that you think takes people the furthest?
Outsource.
Okay.
Everything. I keep learning this lesson, and I think you've got to be willing to invest in yourself.
Yep.
I put a question in my Facebook group the other day. If someone said to you, here's $20,000, you've got 2 years to pay it back, take it, grow your business, would you take it?
Back yourself.
I'm like, it should be yes. Of course I would, because I know with $20,000, I'm going to turn that shit around. My business is going to be thriving in 2 years. But a lot of people, it was really interesting, the answers.
Really?
So I believe in outsourcing because you cannot be an expert in everything. And I know lately I have been outsourcing my motivation.
Yeah, you're just saying. Yeah, right.
Because
so this is the mindset coach.
That, and also with my friend Christy, who I've spoken about a fair bit. She's at the end of her journey. She's been, you know, the last 2 months have been quite devastating for me personally. So I recognise, and I kept putting off, I wanted to hire a business mentor for myself.
Yep.
But I kept saying, it's not the right time, I've got too much going on. And then I went, well, hang on a second, it's because I've got so much going on that this is the right time. I need someone to help me because my brain's foggy, I'm sad, I'm not on my A game. So I need somebody that can hold my hand and get me through this so I can be the best version of myself. Same as when Christy got sick and I wanted to launch my mentoring program. I remember sitting at my desk going, oh, well, normally Christy would do the sales page or she would write this or do this. I don't even know where to start. And then I went, oh, my God, I can find someone else who's really good at this stuff and pay them to do it for me. And I did. And
how do you do that? How do you find someone else to help you?
That's a really good question. I think and you got to find the right people. I think price shopping is something I used to do when I was a baby in business, shop around for the best price. No.
You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for. It's the same as hiring staff. You pay peanuts, you will get monkeys.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, Meg's an intern, so she doesn't get paid anything.
Oh, my goodness. Everyone in the room just went, yes, we need to get paid more. Sorry, I'm sorry. No, I think you need to be willing to invest in yourself and spend money outsourcing, because if you truly believe in yourself and you truly think that your business is going to work, and you should, and if you don't think that, you shouldn't have it. So you've got to be willing to outsource the things that you're not an expert in and get it done properly.
So what does this mean? Jumping on Fiverr.com? Does it mean reaching out to your network? Does it mean looking further?
Look, it's easy for me to say that because, everyone's budget is different.
Yeah.
The reality is some people can't afford to just throw money at a situation. So I guess find the best you can.
Yep.
And if that means going on Fiverr, go on bloody Fiverr. Do you know, like, if that's what works for you, that's what works for you.
Yep.
I think just do your homework, do your research, and try and get it done properly.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for professionalism. I think people can pick when you've done things on the cheap pretty quickly, and if that's and all of these things, often the medium is the message. So if you're trying to communicate a message to people and it doesn't look professional, it doesn't come off well, then that says a whole lot about your business beneath the surface. So yeah, it's super important.
I think it's the same as your energy and comes through with your messaging these days. I know for me, having had a bit of a tricky 6 months, I was very conscious that I could feel my energy coming out in my messaging on my social media or, I was like, I feel like people can pick up on this.
Yep.
I don't know. Some people were like, what? I can't believe that. You look like you're smashing the socials. I'm like, yeah, that's Instagram.
That's Instagram.
Just fooling you.
It's the highlight. It's the highlight reel of your life.
Really, I'm a shit show behind all those beautiful photos.
Quickly, how are we going for time? Should we talk about Instagram? Really? Where is Instagram at and what's the future for Instagram?
Ooh, Instagram. Well, I think the Reels are the latest thing on Instagram.
Yeah. What are Reels? What's that all about?
So I hated the Reels and I was like, not doing it, hate it.
Yeah.
Because it's video really.
Yeah.
And
is it trying to compete with TikTok? Is that what
100%. It is Instagram's answer to TikTok.
As stories was their answer to Snapchat.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes. It's everybody's just answering everybody.
Well, the Zuckerberg trying to kill his competition.
Yes. So, and they've done it quite well actually. And a lot of people are using TikTok to make their Reels. So they go into TikTok.
No way.
Make a video, save it to your phone.
Didn't think of that, did you, Zuck?
Crop out the watermark and then pop it back, upload it back into Instagram. It is an interesting feature, but it really is you do get more engagement. I've tested it against my will.
Is this like the bubbles?
I hate them.
The bubbles.
I hate them. And
they're going to go the way of the blog, don't worry.
I did a funny reel about I thought it was funny, but I think everything
You did a piss take one.
Yeah, I think everything I do is funny. I lost a few followers though from that.
Did you?
Yeah.
You lost a few?
Yeah, I lost a few.
Well, maybe they weren't your people anyway, Elsa.
I don't want to... yeah, correct. Yeah. I did that where I was one person and then I was the other and I was like, what should I do on my reel? Oh, you could dance. And I was like, do I look like Beyonce to you? I don't think so. But if you want to dance. Like if you got moves, do it. Mm-hmm. You won't see me dancing on a reel. And then again, there's the pointing with the bubbles.
Yep.
I don't know. I can't cope.
I actually don't mind watching those. They're kind of engaging. It's a nice way to get a little bit of copy across. But as I said, it's a trend. And all of these things are trends.
I've done those ones.
Yeah. Okay.
But what happens is I did one recently. I like the funny voiceover ones.
Oh, okay.
That's my jam. Completely inappropriate and probably not really relevant to my business. But I did one a few weeks ago and I've been testing the theory. I wanted to see if it was true that they really do get this amazing engagement. And sure enough, I did it, had a few thousand views. And then 3 weeks later, all of a sudden it started getting all these hits.
Right.
And
So it stays on. The content stays on
It
there.
stayed on, and then
Okay.
it didn't go nuts until a few weeks later.
Oh,
and then it
interesting.
just overnight it got like 10,000 views.
Wow.
Super bizarre. So it is a thing.
Okay. So it's a little bit more like a YouTube channel kind of thing where the content is evergreen and it can be discovered
I
over
think
and
at
over
this
again.
point in time it is more evergreen content, 100%. I don't know if that'll last forever.
Yeah, okay.
There's something new will
Probably
come
not.
along.
Yeah, Zuck will be
Yes.
copying Clubhouse or something next.
Yes.
Yeah, bananas. Okay, well, that's really good. And like I'm not, into Instagram, and a lot of our clients aren't necessarily, but it's just a really important channel because in a lot of ways it's replacing Facebook.
Instagram is known as the relationship building platform. So you will notice if you post a story and people respond to that story, they slide into your DMs.
Straight to you.
Yes, so that gives you an opportunity to directly message somebody and start a relationship.
Yeah, right.
So that's the difference, and I think it makes it easier.
Sounds time consuming.
It can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I say to people, and they don't like hearing it, when I run my Instagram workshops, I'm like, everybody wants this quick secret trick. You want this hack of how you can do it quickly
Ain't
and
no silver
easily.
bullet.
But the reality is the people you see on Instagram that are killing it, they've got huge followings and they're absolutely slaying it, they're on there all the fucking time.
Yep, they're investing. Yep.
All the time.
Yep.
They are liking, commenting, sharing, engaging, chatting, responding to messages.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the brutal truth
Yep.
of how you can get
Well, that's
to
the way
be
these products are built,
Insta-famous.
is to maximise the amount of time and
Correct.
eyeballs that people are on these things.
Yes.
So it rewards that.
Yep. Absolutely.
time. Awesome. Well, we're getting to the end of the show. The last little thing that we often do is show and tell. So what is the tool?
You show me yours first, though.
Well, I'm asking the questions here, Elsa. So the favourite tool, device, toy, something in your life that makes your life better that you want everyone else to know about.
Oh, favourite tool.
Could be a piece of software, it could be an app, it could be just something that you have around the house.
Okay, I'm trying to think fast on my feet here. My current favourite tool is probably my podcasting
Nice.
software.
Yeah. Cool. What are you using?
Zencaster and Omni Studio, and I just love that it's so easy for me because I am, as I've mentioned many times, not technical at all.
So can you do that on your phone?
Makes me feel like I'm really
You're a pro.
Yeah,
Well, you are.
savvy.
Yeah.
Tech savvy.
Is it an app for your phone or
I
laptop?
use it on my laptop,
Yep.
so plug it in. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
It's just so efficient and easy to use.
The cool thing about podcasting is there are an amazing suite of tools and things out there, and it's really not that technically difficult. It's just maybe the editing parts and stuff like that. But
That's where I come
it's
on.
pretty low tech. Yeah.
Yes.
It's really cool. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. So what was that called?
Zencaster.
Zencaster.
And
Okay.
Omni Studios.
We'll put a link to it in the notes.
Yep.
Well, Elsa, thank you so much
Thanks for
for
having
spending time with us here at Weird Growth. Final plug, product ask. Where should we be sending people if they're interested in getting involved?
Oh, you could send them to my website, elsamitchell.com.au, or they could come and join my Facebook group, which is Bossy Bitch,
Is it? And follow the podcast.
and follow the podcast.
And I mean, everyone
also
we've talked
Bossy
about
Bitch.
Instagram. Everyone will be inspired to follow your
Elsa
handle.
Mitchell.
Okay.
Yep.
You're looking at bubbles and dancing.
You will not see me dancing.
Well,
If you do, you know I'm drunk.
that daytime gin's because it's sneaking up there. Well, thanks so much for joining us in Weird Growth, and thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do subscribe on Apple Podcasts or YouTube, or leave us a review. But otherwise, check us out on weirdgrowth.com. And thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye. Nice one.